Hello everybody. Welcome back to Rank Talks Ball for a very special occasion. It's finally here. We're finally back with the group stage draw of the 2026 Copa Libertadores. Yes, it's finally here. A new adventure begins after the journey that we had over the last 2 years, covering the entirety of the Copa Libertadores both in 2024 and in 2025. Last year ending with that epic final between Flamengo and Palmeiras in Lima, where El Mengao was crowned champion of the Copa Libertadores for the fourth time in their history. We're finally back here to see what fate will have in store for all of these teams that you see right down below over there in this group stage draw. It's the first time since 2023 where I do group stage draw reaction. Back then it was a video, it was not a live stream. So it's been a while since I've been able to do something like this. And yeah, it's super exciting, especially because Boca Juniors, my club, is finally back in the Copa Libertadores, which is something that I really wanted to see and something that I was missing because the Copa Libertadores is our obsession as a club, and it's the trophy that we want to win every single year, and we're chasing that ever elusive number 7. I'm not very optimistic given the recent results. Riquelme's administration and Uwe still being the coach. You can see that in my most recent video on how I talk about the current state of Boca Juniors and how it doesn't make me very optimistic going into this Copa Libertadores. But we will give it our very best. We're in pot 1, which is a huge deal. You can see down there the pots. You can see all 32 teams qualified for the group stage and in which pot they are allocated: pot 1, pot 2, pot 3, and pot 4. So yeah, first off, however, they're going to start with the draw of the Copa Sudamericana. This is something that I really should have accounted for because now with this draw taking place and all of the presentations that they're going to make, because I expect this to be a long stream, given that they're going to skedaddle on a lot of topics and presentations and glazing and whatever. Yeah, they're going to first have the draw for the Copa Sudamericana, where a lot of big teams are actually playing. As you can see here down below, you will see that there's no River Plate, there is no Racing Club, there is no San Lorenzo. Speaking only of the Argentinian teams, there's like no Gremio from Brazil. Those type of teams are down in the Copa Sudamericana, which that is why the Copa Sudamericana will also be very exciting and very competitive this year. We will still focus on the Copa Libertadores, which is our main thing, but as you can see, you may see a lot of unfamiliar faces down here in the Copa Sudamericana, in the Copa Libertadores. I think that this is going to be quite an interesting Copa Libertadores, where there are a lot of big teams, definitely, especially in pots 1 and 2. But once you get down to pots 3 and 4, it's hard to find really good teams. Maybe Rosario Central in pot 3 is one that a lot of people are going to be keeping their eye on, considering that they were the best team in the Argentinian league last season, at least the most consistent. Even though they didn't win any of the championships, they still won the trophy that was invented basically for topping the aggregate table. And yeah, they are super good, obviously, with Di Maria leading the way for them. I think that they are one of the teams to look out for in pot 3. In pot 4, you have a lot of strong teams like Barcelona from Ecuador, Deportes Tolima, Independiente Medellin, all of those teams. Many of those teams in pot 4, I think, that are very scary. So yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting edition of the Libertadores. We're going to have to see what fate has in store for all of these teams. So let's run through some of the teams that we have down below. In Pot 1, you're going to have the teams that obviously you know the most about, the reigning champions, Flamengo, 4-time Copa Libertadores winners after winning the very last edition in 2025. The biggest club in Brazil, in my opinion, never relegated. Lots of championships in general. Massive, massive fan base. Over 50 million fans, I believe, in Brazil alone, which is insane. I think obviously one of the teams that will look to defend the title, and I think that they are one of the favorites once again. They did sack Felipe Luis at the start of the year because of a poor run of form at the start of the year. But once again, I think that with their budget, with their team, and with their pedigree as well, I think that they are definitely one of the favorites for the tournament. Same as Palmeiras, the team that they defeated in the final and that are here once again, still coached by Abel Ferreira, still with fantastic players all over the pitch. I think that Palmeiras, 3-time Copa Libertadores champions, are going to be one of the favorites once again to try and claim eternal glory. Obviously, my team, Boca Juniors, 6-time Copa Libertadores champions, but we haven't won it since 2007. Since then, we've lost 3 finals, which is obviously very disappointing. The last 2 years, we actually didn't play this competition. 2024, we played the Copa Sudamericana, which is like the Europa League. 2025, we played the qualifiers for the Copa Libertadores, where we lost to Alianza Lima, ended up playing no trophies, which was extremely disappointing. And it sent me into a whole rant video once again. But now we're here. I don't think last year was extremely, good, because again, we didn't win any trophies, but at least we got enough points to actually qualify to the Copa Libertadores this year. Let me move the chat a little bit because I see a message here coming from Ararat. Okay, hold on. I'm getting this one right. Ararat Bagrayan, I think so. I hope Boca wins this year. Same. Same, obviously. Thank you so much for joining and for leaving that comment. Yeah, obviously, I hope that Boca get to win the Copa Libertadores this year, but I think we have a tough mountain to climb. Titanes, thank you so much for joining. Good to see you here, pal. Like I was mentioning, they are starting with the Copa Sudamericana draw, which is the Europa League equivalent. So I think that it's going to take a while for us to get to the actual thing that I have here prepared for the Copa Libertadores. But I was just running through some of the teams just to get people engaged and up to date with what's going on with some of these clubs. We've already discussed the obvious ones, which are Flamengo and Palmeiras. I think that they are the 2 strongest teams. They played the final last year, and I think that once again they are the favorites. Obviously, Boca Juniors, I made a video very recently about how I think we're doing. I don't think we are one of the favorites for this competition. On pedigree, we should be, based on how we are playing. I don't think that's the case, but there's always a chance that we manage to surprise people, and I think that it starts with getting a good draw tonight. Then you have the 2 clubs from Uruguay, Peñarol and Nacional. Obviously, they are always here representing, or almost always they are the Uruguayan clubs to represent. Peñarol, 5-time Copa Libertadores winners. Nacional, 3-time Copa Libertadores winners. Some massive clubs. However, they have not won a trophy since the 80s, both of them. I think that Nacional since 87 and Peñarol since 88. So it's been a long time since we've seen a winner from Uruguay. Peñarol did play a final in 2011, and they were also in the semifinals in 2024. So they have gotten close, but for the most part, Uruguayan clubs have not been performing to the potential that the history suggests that they should, which is obviously disappointing. Because of their history and their pedigree, they're still in Pot 1, but I think that they are among the weakest teams in Pot 1, at least in my opinion. I think Peñarol and Nacional are literally Celtic and Rangers, I think. The Uruguayan league is very similar to the Scottish league in that it's a league of 2. and they are historic and they used to be very big, but nowadays they struggle to find performances internationally. So yeah, I think that Peñarol and Nacional definitely fit that criteria a lot. Yeah, I mean, as I explained in my last video, yeah, Boca did manage to qualify to this edition after failing to qualify to the last two editions, both 2024 and 2025. We were not in this. We're finally back. So yeah, very exciting stuff, especially because our main rivals, River Plate, are playing down in the Copa Sudamericana. So like how the Terribles have turned on that one makes me very, very happy. But now we have to prove ourselves in this international stage once again. The next club, Liga de Quito. In my opinion, the biggest club from Ecuador, two-time Copa Sudamericana champions as well of the Copa Libertadores back in 2008. Massive club, and they've won trophies recently, like the 2024 Copa Sudamericana, basically the Europa League. I think that Liga is a team that you can never underestimate, especially playing in the altitude. They are super strong at home, and they have some very good players, strong squad. Even though the Ecuadorian League may be one that you would often underlook, I think that Liga de Quito would be one of the teams to look out for from Pot 1 to potentially make a deep run, potentially something like the semifinals. I feel like the final would be maybe a bit of a stretch, especially considering the other Argentinian and Brazilian clubs that are into the fray. But I wouldn't rule out Liga de Quito making a splash in this Libertadores. I mean, for the most part, River were doing better than Boca in the last few years. I think that the last year was the exception where Boca actually did better than River. And yeah, we ended up qualifying to the Libertadores, and they dropped down to the Sudamericana. Despite all the signings that they made, they were not able to qualify to the Libertadores. Following up in Pot 1, Fluminense from Brazil, obviously champions of the Copa Libertadores in 2023 at the expense of Boca Juniors, which was heartbreaking. Usually, obviously part of the Big 12 in Brazil, but usually underlooked as one of the smallest clubs in Brazil out of the Big 12. But again, because of winning the Copa Libertadores and also the run that they had in the Club World Cup, I think that they got some international recognition, and now they are here in Pot 1 once again to try and win another trophy. The last club in Pot 1 will be Independiente del Valle from Ecuador. If you guys have watched videos from Michael Talks Football on this club, you probably know them by now, that they are basically the biggest talent factory in South America at the moment. They produce the likes of Moises Caicedo, of Estupiñán, recently Kendry Páez. They are a massive talent factory. Felix Torres, I believe, also came from their academy. So massive in the strides that they made over the last years with different investment to develop their academies and slowly turn themselves into a force to be reckoned with in the continent, not only in Ecuador, but they've actually won plenty of silverware over the years, including 2 Copa Sudamericana titles. In the Copa Libertadores, they played the final in 2016 where they lost to Atlético Nacional. But since then, in the Copa Libertadores, it seems like they have struggled. They often don't get really far. I've seen them drop down to the Copa Sudamericana. If they make the knockouts, they usually bow down in the round of 16. So now that they are back here and in Pot 1 once again, I'm interested to see what Independiente del Valle can do, if they can prove me wrong, because I think that they are a bit of a fraud watch because of their lack of performances in the Copa Libertadores, even though in the Sudamericana they usually perform really well. I want to see them do something in the Copa Libertadores. Not Gary, thank you so much for joining. Welcome. To be fair, Boca and River were awful at different points of the year. Yeah, I agree. Neither of them were happy. Neither of them won trophies. I'm just saying that Boca were marginally better because we actually qualified to the Libertadores while River didn't. We beat them in that Super Clásico. Obviously, River beat us in their stadium. So like you could say that it was 1-1 in terms of the head-to-head last year. But yeah, obviously it wasn't a good year for neither of them, but at least Boca got to qualify to this competition, while River are down in the Copa Sudamericana that is being drawn right now. I mean, if Argentina were to defend the World Cup and Boca were to win the Libertadores, I mean, that would be like the best footballing year ever for me. So, I mean, fingers crossed for that. As we move on to pot 2, we have a few other familiar faces. Libertad from Paraguay. Again, they are very consistently one of the best teams in Paraguay, if that means something. Last Copa Libertadores, they actually did very well because in the round of 16, they took River Plate to penalties, which was very, very surprising, at least to me. I thought that they would just capitulate at the Estadio Monumental here in Buenos Aires, but they gave a really good fight and they forced that penalty shootout that they ended up losing. But I think that finally they didn't succumb to the pressure of being in a big stage, and yeah, they were able to perform. I think that if they can keep that up, they are definitely a team that you do not want to play in this group stage. Again, the Paraguayan league has to be taken with a grain of salt. I think that they are 5th best in South America at the moment, so like behind Brazil, Argentina, Ecuador, maybe Uruguay, maybe Colombia actually. I think Colombia is ahead of Paraguay, so yeah. But Libertad, again, a team that, I don't know, could be tough to play. Estudiantes de La Plata from Argentina, the most recent champions of the Argentinian Championship, obviously. And yeah, very, very solid team. However, they lost their manager and they lost a few key players. They are not the same team that they were when they won the championship. They are not the same team that they were last Copa Libertadores, where they forced Flamengo to a penalty shootout in the quarterfinals. I think that they've definitely downgraded from that team. If they hadn't lost all of those key pieces, I think that they would be one of the contenders to push for the trophy even. But as it currently stands, I think that they are a team that is likely to lose in the round of 16 or the quarterfinals of the competition. But they're a team that always has that fighting spirit in them. You can never underestimate them. And yeah, their history is massive. 4-time winners of this competition. So I don't think they will be an easy team to beat by any stretch of the imagination, despite them having downgraded for this edition. Cerro Porteño from Paraguay as well. A bit of a special team because I believe that they have the most leagues in Paraguay behind Olimpia. I believe they are the team that has played the most Copa Libertadores matches without actually winning it, which is a crazy record to hold. But yeah, that's why they always get memed in this competition, because they're almost there every time, but it's never quite there for them. And I think that they are a prime candidate to either exit in the group stage if they have a bad draw, or exit in the round of 16 as soon as they have to fight against like an Argentinian or a Brazilian team. I think that they are likely to forfeit. So a bit of a tough one there. The Juve of SA, yeah, but like even worse, because at least Juve have won the Champions League. Cerro Porteño have not even done that. So yeah, extremely disappointing for them. Lanús, the current champions of the Copa Sudamericana, obviously the Europa League, and the Super Cup, because they actually beat Flamengo in that home and away tie for the Super Cup. They went to the Maracanã and beat them. They won as well as homes. They won both matches, which was insane, because they basically have a team that is worth 10 times less than Flamengo, and they were able to win both legs and win the Super Cup. A team that you cannot underestimate by any stretch of the imagination. They've won the Copa Sudamericana 2 times. They've played a Copa Libertadores final back in 2017 that they lost to Gremio. But a team with, despite being considered small, they have a massive international pedigree. And I think that they are one of the teams to look out for. Sadly, they did lose their main striker, Rodrigo Castillo, to Fluminense, a team in Pot 1, in this transfer window, which I think is massive because he was banging in so many goals for them. Besides that, they've kept pretty much every single important player, so I think that if they are able to find goals from somewhere else, they are a very organized team, very well coached by Pellegrino. I think that they are one of the dark horses for this competition, for sure. Corinthians, massive club from Brazil, massive fan base. They've only won one Copa Libertadores in 2012, also at the expense of Boca Juniors, which, I mean, was one of my first traumatic football memories back in 2012. So, yeah, there's that. But still, one of the biggest clubs in Brazil in terms of fan base and in terms of the trophies that they've won, at least on a local level, despite only having one Libertadores. And yeah, they're here once again. Obviously, with all of the Brazilian clubs, they're going to have a massive budget and a great team. I believe they are currently in mid-table, if I'm not mistaken, in the Brasileirao. I don't want to spread misinformation, so I'm actually going to check right now, like, what is the Brasileirao table look like? And where are Corinthians sitting right now? Yeah, it's not looking too hot right now. They are in 9th, which obviously not ideal for them, but it's better than nothing, I suppose. And being Brazilian, obviously, with the budget that they have, they are always a team that you would not like to play. Bolívar from Bolivia, obviously. The club that always represents this country internationally. The team that you dread to face despite how bad Bolivia is, because you know that you're going to have to play in that altitude, and that is super annoying. And it's not easy for any club. They historically reached the quarterfinals in 2024. 2025, they got grouped, which was a disappointment for them. But I think that they are, as always, a club that if you could avoid them, you would prefer to avoid them. If you have to play them, you know, like, okay, at home they are pretty much an easy win, but you have to play that away game, and that is going to be super, super tough. And they are actually a good team once they're playing at home. So not to be underestimated once again. Cruzeiro, another one of the Big 12 from Brazil. As I was checking the Brasileirao table, currently dead last in the Brazilian league, which is shocking. The club owned by Ronaldo Nazario. Yeah, definitely struggling at the moment, despite the great campaign that they had last season, where they finished in 3rd and they managed to qualify to this Libertadores. It's looking really bad right now, at least a slow start for them. Obviously, the league has only just started in Brazil, but already seeing yourself in the bottom of the table, not comfortable for them. Still, same as Corinthians, Brazilian club, big budget. You do not want to play them, but definitely the weakest Brazilian club at the moment. Universitario from Peru. So they make history in a way last Copa Libertadores, qualifying to the round of 16 for the first time in, I believe, it was like 2013, since Peru didn't have a team in the round of 16. So like they broke a streak of 12 years of no Peruvian teams in the knockout stages. So big up to Universitario. Again, I think that they are the weakest team in Pot 2, the Peruvian league. I believe that alongside the Venezuelan league is the weakest in South America. So I don't really rate them like that, but they deserve to be in Pot 2 based on what they did last season. And yeah, we'll have to see if they can replicate that success. A lot of that is going to depend on what kind of draw they get and if they, manage to find some form. I mean, you say that Titanes. I believe that Brazilian clubs usually have PTSD with Boca. Boca actually has a positive record against Brazilian teams, especially in the knockouts. It just so happens that over the last few years, the Brazilian clubs have only improved while the Argentinian clubs have downgraded, and Corinthians and Fluminense are two very specific cases because the only Copa Libertadores trophies that they got was beating Boca in the final. But if you ask Palmeiras, like Palmeiras has an awful record against Boca Juniors. Surprisingly, Boca and Flamengo have not played that many games in the Copa Libertadores. I believe it's only 3 games, and I think Boca has won 2 of them and Flamengo has won 1. So Boca still has a positive record against Flamengo, but it's been a while since we played. But Boca usually has positive record against the Brazilian clubs. It just happens that both Corinthians and Fluminense beat us in the final on their way to their only trophy. So, I mean, yeah, that's where my PTSD lies with those 2 clubs, but it doesn't really have to do with Brazilian clubs. Obviously, Brazilian clubs are super strong at the moment and better than the Argentinian clubs. You can see that basically going into Wikipedia and seeing like the most recent winners, and you will see only Brazil. This is essentially the Copa do Brasil 2.0. So, yeah, obviously nowadays Brazilian clubs have the upper hand, but Boca usually does pretty well. History says that we can actually beat them. Slowed out? I hope so, Southside. Thank you so much for joining. We did advance in the Champions League. Now we have to see what we do against PSG. There will surely be a watch along for those games. But yeah, I think it's very hard that we actually get something going in those matches. I don't know. It's going to be very difficult. I hope that at least we make top 4. We should be able to catch up to Villa with their recent form. So pot 3. This is where you will probably start seeing the teams that you have not heard about, if you've ever heard about the teams in pots 1 and 2. Junior from Colombia. One of the teams that has the most leagues in the Colombian league. They haven't been able to translate that into international success, but out of the teams in pot 3, I think that they are one of the most uncomfortable ones, especially because of that home game in Barranquilla. The heat is very, very tough to handle. It's very humid and it's a long trip, especially here from Argentina, so they are not a team that I would like to play. That very, very narrow logo that you see there is the Universidad Católica from Chile. The narrowness of their badge kind of resembles the narrowness of their country. One of the big 3 from Chile, basically the only team from the big 3 that has qualified to the Copa Libertadores, because neither Colo Colo or Universidad de Chile are here. So they're here to represent their country. I have not been impressed with their play, but I don't know. They have the capacity to maybe cause an upset or 2. I don't really rate the Chilean league like that, but they're a team to look out for. Rosario Central from Argentina. Obviously, the team led by Angel Di Maria, the team that gathered the most points across the year last year in Argentina, the most consistent team in the Argentinian league last year. I think that they will be one of the teams to look out for, the strongest team in pot 3, in my opinion. I think that they are struggling to find goals and struggle to find creativity if it's not coming from Di Maria. But I still think that their home ground is a very, very tough place to travel to. And yeah, I think that they are excited to be back in the Copa Libertadores after, I believe, a 2 or 3 year hiatus. And with Di Maria, they're always going to have the upper hand on a lot of teams. An Indian played for Santa Fe, Independiente Santa Fe, the following team that's below Junior in pot 3. Is that what you're talking about, Titanes? Independiente Santa Fe as well, from Bogota, from Colombia. One of the biggest clubs from, Santa Fe. One of the biggest clubs in Colombia. Again, as it's usual with Colombia, not able to translate that to international success. I think that in the words of their own fans, they are ready for disappointment this year once again. But I'm always rooting for the Colombian teams to cause an upset. It's just that they never seem to get it done. It's the frustrating part with them. They always have the ingredients to bake the cake, but they always burn the kitchen. So I don't know. We'll have to see. Always ready. The team that, as their name implies, they're always ready, from Bolivia. Again, same with Bolivar. That altitude is the main opponent, the main thing that you have to look out for. The team itself is not the greatest of things, but having to travel to El Alto, playing in 4,000 meters above sea level, basically in outer space, is subhuman. And yeah, I think that itself makes that fixture very, very difficult. But yeah, as a team itself, I don't think that they aren't one to be feared. Coquimbo Unido, YAR, the team with the Pirates that we shall from now on know as Coquimbo United. The champions of the Chilean League, surprisingly, in a shocking turn of events. I don't think they're going to do much. I don't think that the team is the same that won the championship last year. I believe that they got dismantled, so I don't expect them to do much, but I'm always rooting for that Pirate. Deportivo La Guaira from Venezuela, I'm not going to dwell too much on this one. Venezuelan league sucks, and Deportivo La Guaira is not exception. The team from Poseidon, as they have the trident in their logo, looks amazing, but apart from the long trip to Venezuela, I think that I would be quite happy to play them. And finally, Cusco from the Emperor's New Groove, actually from Peru, the same thing. Again, I don't rate the Peruvian league, and if I didn't rate Universitario, who actually have pedigree and good players and trophies, I think that Cusco is a team that is not going to do much. The teams in Pot 4, Universidad Central de Venezuela, again, they're making their debut in the group stage of this Copa Libertadores, so massive props to them, as well as a lot of teams in Pot 4. They're actually debutants in this competition. Shout out to them for making it here, but I don't think they're doing much. Platense from Argentina, a team that I hold a lot of respect from. I've been to their stadium a couple of times. One of my uncles is a Platense fan. They won the championship, their first ever trophy last year. After that, they got pretty much dismantled. They changed coach twice since winning the championship. So I think that they will have the drive to make something happen in their first appearance in the Copa Libertadores, but I don't think they are doing much. Independiente Rivadavia, as well, debutants from Argentina, coming from the province of Mendoza. They came here after winning the Argentinian Cup. And I think that because they actually won a trophy more recently, their squad is more solidified. They're actually doing better in the Argentinian league. And they have really, really good players that can actually be difference makers. I think that they are a team to look out for from Pot 4. Same as Mirassol from Brazil. Mirassol were the surprise factor in the Brazilian league last year because I believe that they had just promoted and they actually had an amazing performance for most of the year. They were contesting for the league. Obviously, they were not able to keep that up, but it was still enough to qualify here for the Libertadores. And yeah, right now they are not doing half bad either, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, they are just above the relegation zone, but that's where you would expect them to be. I think that last season they made an absolute miracle happen, getting so many points to qualify for this competition. And again, being from Brazil, I think that out of the teams from Pot 4, they would not be one that you would choose. Hey, Brazilian Fury, Chris, thank you so much for joining. Yeah, let's see where this takes both Palmeiras and Boca. Exciting. The Copa Sudamericana draw just finished, so they're on a bit of an ad break, and then we will get to the action, what we're here for in the Copa Libertadores. The final 4 teams in Pot 4 are the teams that have come from the playoffs. Barcelona, the team led by Hansi Flick, with obviously Lamine Yamal, Rafinha, Lewandowski, a lot of amazing players. They recently destroyed Newcastle. Okay, jokes aside, Barcelona from Ecuador, very, very historic team, alongside Liga de Quito, one of the biggest clubs from Ecuador, a lot of trophies. They have not translated that to an international trophy. They played a final before, I believe, back in the 90s, and they made it to the semifinals in 2022, I believe, or 2023. I'm getting mixed. I'm mixing up my memories right now. They lost to Flamengo, I believe, in the semifinals that year, but they made a deep run in recent years. And after seeing them play in the qualifying rounds, I think that they are a very legit team and one that you would not like to face if you're a team from the other pots, considering the other options that are available in pot 4. I do not envy whichever group ends up with Mirasol out of pot 4. Yeah. I think that the least Brazilian clubs you can have, the better usually. But out of the Brazilian clubs, I think that everybody's looking at Mirasol as the team that would be the easiest, alongside Cruzeiro, who are struggling currently. They lost to Gremio in the 2017 semis. Yeah, but they also made semis in the 2020s, I remember. Let me fact check this, because I do believe that in 2022 or 2023 they made semifinals. I remember they lost to Flamengo. Let me see. Um, 2021 they made semifinals. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and they lost to Flamengo. So yeah, I mean, in the last 10 years they've had 2 semifinals appearances. Besides that, they've never made it past the group stage. So if they make it past the group stage, it's an automatic semifinal spot. But that is a big if. But yeah, I think that after seeing them play in the playoffs, they are a very legit team. Deportes Tolima from Colombia. I remember they played in the 2020. What was it? Was it like 2020 or 2021 Copa Libertadores? They were in Boca's group. We played them twice. We beat them home and away, I believe, but they were both very, very tight games. We might have actually, I believe it was a draw in Colombia actually, but I mean, also decent team based on what I've seen in the playoffs. But knowing the reputation of the Colombian teams, I don't think they are that scary. Same as Sporting Cristal, again, Peruvian league, I don't really rate. And Deportivo Independiente Medellín, El Dim from Colombia as well. Again, one of those teams that is super big in Colombia, has a massive fan base, but internationally, like, my goodness, they are a ticking time bomb from disappointment. So same as Independiente Santa Fe, I believe that their fans are waiting for the moment where their team implodes and they just are disappointed once again. Any preferences on who you want in Boca's group? So if I were to choose, I think that either Universitario or Cerro Porteño from pot 2. From pot 3, I guess I would go with... I mean, if we get Universitario, we cannot get Cusco. I guess I would go with U Católica, so that way I can get Universidad Central from pot 4. Realistically, I want a Peruvian team, I want a Venezuelan team, and just move on with my life. But something in my gut tells me that we're gonna get Corinthians. I'm so sure that they're gonna put Corinthians in our group. That's how convinced I am. I have a feeling that it's gonna be something like Corinthians, Coquimbo United, and I don't know, maybe even Barcelona or Tolima once again. I feel like we're gonna get a tough group. But I hope we get a Peruvian team and a Venezuelan team, which I guess I should explain this. The rules of the draw are very, very easy. Pots are drawn in order: pot 1, pot 2, pot 3, and pot 4. Teams from the same country cannot play each other unless they come from the playoffs. The teams that come from the playoffs, Barcelona, Deportes Tolima, Sporting Cristal, and Independiente Medellín, don't have any restrictions and can go into any group. besides that, like those are the only rules. It's very easy to understand. You'd love Bolivar out of pot 2, knowing your luck you're gonna get Lanús or Cerro Porteño again. Lanús could be tough. Estudiantes could be tough. Cerro Porteño, I don't know. I feel like Libertad are better than Cerro Porteño out of the Paraguayan teams, but I could be proven wrong. And I mean, Bolivar, yes, it's a free win at home, but you also have to travel to the altitude. Although I think that Palmeiras has had a good record in the altitude. You beat Bolivar home and away last season, right? I believe so. Palmeiras actually has a good record in the altitude. Shenanigans with the Ultras. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. I guess it would be nice to avoid that then. Yeah, I mean, usually Brazilian and Argentinian clubs heavily struggle against Bolivar and, I mean, Bolivian teams in general in the altitude, Ecuadorian teams as well. But somehow Palmeiras has been the most consistent team in the group stages. Like, I mean, last season you completed a perfect group stage, but usually you get 15 plus points every group stage, which I think is insane. How that actually translates to the knockouts, well, it's been up and down for Palmeiras. But we'll see. Obviously, you're still one of the favorites for this competition, no doubt about it. So the president of CONMEBOL, Alejandro Dominguez, is giving a speech, as it usually happens. I wonder if they have like the Copa Sudamericana draw so that we can look at that at least. Okay, maybe they posted it in Twitter, which I'm never calling X. I believe San Lorenzo got thrown into the same group as Santos, which is very funny. It means that Neymar is gonna play in San Lorenzo's stadium. Okay, so where are the groups? Here they are. Okay. It's not how you see things. There we go. Where's my camera? We have to. There we go. River got in the same group as Group H with Red Bull Bragantino from Brazil, Blooming from Bolivia, and Carabobo from Venezuela. I think that overall River have to be happy with that draw. Bragantino could be a tough opponent home and away, but Blooming, I think they're from Santa Cruz, so they don't even have altitude, and Carabobo is just a free win. So fairly lucky there for River. If we look at the other Argentinian teams like Racing, Caracas from Venezuela as well, Independiente, they actually get to play an Independiente. I believe that's Independiente Petrolero from Bolivia. But obviously their main rivals in Argentina are Independiente, so the fact that they get to play Independiente is actually quite funny. And Botafogo from Pot 4 is actually a massive draw. Obviously they spanked Botafogo in the Super Cup in 2024, but it's always a tough task to play against a Brazilian club. Tigre landed in Group A with América de Cali, Macará, and Alianza Atlético. I think that Tigre has to be happy with that draw, considering the options that they had from Pot 1 basically being all Brazilians. They got the Colombian and then two teams that I honestly have no idea where they're from. Sorry, because it's the first time I've heard about Macará and Alianza Atlético. San Lorenzo, as we were talking about, landed with Santos. and Deportivo Cuenca from Ecuador. And Recoleta, I have no idea where Recoleta is from. I thought Recoleta was a neighborhood here in Buenos Aires, but apparently it's a team from another country. I believe Paraguay, if I'm not mistaken. So overall, not the worst for San Lorenzo, but Santos could be tricky. And Deportivo Riestra and Barraca Central, I mean, I don't care about them. I think that overall they got decent draws. I mean, Barracas with Olimpia, Vasco da Gama, and Audax. Bit of a mixed bag. Same as Riestra. Gremio is super tough, but apart from that, Montevideo City Torque and Palestino shouldn't be much of a problem. I expect them to lose against the Pot 1 teams. Barracas maybe loses to Vasco da Gama, but besides that, Barracas maybe has a chance to make the playoffs. I think that Riestra maybe has a better chance. I honestly hope they get grouped, but it is what it is. I wonder if my camera, yes, my camera always freezes when I come back to this thingy. So there we go. Yeah, I mean, obviously, Palmeiras and Flamengo have just been running this Copa do Brasil 2.0 that has become the Copa Libertadores. Brazilian clubs have taken over, and I think it's mainly part to Flamengo and Palmeiras for sure. How much is Dominguez gonna go on for? Like, the Copa Sudamericana draw was over like 15 to 20 minutes ago, and we're still rambling. We haven't even presented who's gonna conduct the draw. I'm happy that CONMEBOL has kept this format. It's like one of the things that it seems we've preserved over UEFA. I really think that the league phase, as well as it works in UEFA, I think it would not work in CONMEBOL. I really like the group stage. Obviously, Alejandro Dominguez has done massive things in terms of TV deals and revenue and prize money for winners in these international competitions, but I mean, some of the other decisions have been just shocking. I don't agree in a lot of things with this CONMEBOL administration. I feel like, especially in terms of security with away fans, they always seems to mess that up. They often don't take the right decisions when it comes to giving clubs accountability for the actions of their fans, and also, I don't know, like in deciding where finals will take place. It's a bit of a mixed bag. Some confederations that seem to have more benefits than others. Mainly how they bent over with the whole 2030 World Cup ordeal. I knew that realistically we couldn't host it on our own, but the fact that they agreed to hosting only 3 games is embarrassing. He is still yapping, man. What is this guy going on about? So yeah, I think I'm gonna lock in my prediction for Boca's group. I really think we're gonna get Corinthians. Something tells me we're gonna get Coquimbo Unido, and I guess I'll pick Deportes Tolima from pot 4. But I hope we get a Venezuelan team. I hope we get a Peruvian team, because with this Boca, no teams are free wins from other countries. And I need a couple of freebies until we make it to the knockouts and we have another transfer window. Crossing my fingers that we get Dybala in June. How is this guy still talking, man? Oh my god. It's been like 20-25 minutes. I've been live for almost an hour and I have not been able to move any teams. I guess I should have seen this coming, that they were going to start with the Copa Sudamericana. I don't know if they always start with the Copa Sudamericana. I feel like there have been times where they started with the Copa Libertadores and did the Copa Sudamericana second, which I always thought was silly. I think that you would always save the best for last, but I don't know. I remember that sometimes they would do the Copa Libertadores first, which is why I was like, okay, I might as well just start when they say they're going to start. But it wasn't the case. I should have taken this into account. Still, I guess a longer stream means more time with you and more time to yap about South American football. The matches will start in April, so that is when the Copa Libertadores predictions and recaps will return. Now with Boca actually in it for the first time since I've done this series. So yeah, exciting stuff. Obviously, we're gonna have a break in between with the World Cup, but I feel like they're gonna have to speed run the group stages, because everything is gonna have to take place in April and May. By June, you have to wrap up competitions. So like they have like 8 to 10 weeks to play the 6 match days. So like almost every week we're gonna have Copa Libertadores in April and May, which is both exciting and daunting to think about because of the videos that I'm gonna have to make. Usually I like to put a video in between every Copa Libertadores recap, but if it's gonna be a Copa Libertadores video every week, I may not be able to do it unless I prepare videos in advance, which I've always struggled with. My upload schedule is just all over the place. I do have another video recorded that I'm currently editing, so I should be able to get something out. And that way my upload schedule would actually not be that bad. It's been 6 days since my last video, which actually did pretty well. I was very happy. I usually don't look at views, but the fact that people responded well to my return obviously makes me very, very happy. I agree, Chris. I just saw your tweet. Like, my God, how is this guy still talking? Everyone is talking about the same thing on Twitter. They cannot believe how long he's been talking. My gosh, this guy. Finally, he's getting done with it. Finally, he stopped talking. Holy shit. My gosh, that was long. Alright, boys, lock in. It's finally time. The final is in Montevideo. We're going back to the Estadio Centenario. It feels like it's always rotating between the same stadiums, you know? It's Lima, it's Rio, it's Montevideo, it's Guayaquil. They tried to make it in Santiago, but they weren't able to. But I guess they're gonna make it in Santiago at some point as well. All over and over the same places for the Libertadores final. Like, it feels like they cannot find any more stadiums, which is quite sad. My gosh, and they still have to present who's gonna pick up the balls, man. Come on, lock in. Lock the fucking chat. Again, the rules are pretty simple. Pot 1 is to run first, then pot 2, then pot 3, then pot 4. Teams from the same country cannot play each other except for teams that come from the playoffs, which are Barcelona, Deportes Tolima, Sporting Cristal, and Independiente Medellin, all in pot 4. They are the last 4 teams down here. Besides those, don't have any restrictions. They can go into any groups. Besides that, teams from the same country cannot play each other. Very easy to understand. They're just showcasing a highlight reel for the teams in contention. What a beautiful trophy. If only I could hold you in my arms again for the 7th time. If only Ueda wasn't my coach, we might have a chance. We have more than a 1% chance. I'll tell you that much. I think that besides Flamengo and Palmeiras, all the teams should fear us, despite how bad we are. La Bombonera will always be imposing for these teams. My gosh, what are they presenting now? An app? Finally. Please. All right. Stop talking, please. Stop talking. We're an hour in. Please stop talking. Oh, Felipe Melo. No, I cannot believe that that guy never played for Boca. He was so Boca Juniors coded. Man, they're still talking. Okay, Ruggeri as well. It's gonna be presenting. Fucking asshole. Okay, so it's only two players. We don't have to present anybody else. Can we stop yapping and get on with the draw now? Please. Oh my god, what a yapping marathon this is. Like draws are usually bad, but this is like super bad. They didn't even have like musical presentations or other bullshit that other draws do, but like these guys just won't shut up. What are they talking about now? Do they still have to explain the procedure? Of course they do. My goodness. My god, man. My god, man. This shouldn't be this hard. It's super easy to understand. I explained it in 30 seconds. I don't know why we need a 3-minute video. It's not that hard. Pot 1 is drawn first, pot 2 drawn second, pot 3 drawn third, pot 4 drawn fourth. Teams from the same country cannot play each other, except from the countries that come from the playoffs. Those can go anywhere. That's it. Those are the rules. I don't know why we need a 3-minute video for this. All right. Lock in, chat. We're live. Time for the draw. Time for the draw, everybody. So to start off, Flamengo, as reigning champions, automatically seeded as the first seed of Group A. So Omengao, 4 times Copa Libertadores winner and reigning champions, already there in Group A. And let's see who will come out now for Group B. Nacional from Uruguay, 3-time Copa Libertadores champions, are going into Group B. In which group your city doesn't matter for the playoffs, because in the knockouts there's another draw for the round of 16 and for the entire bracket, so in which group you're in doesn't play into what matchup you get. Fluminense from Brazil, obviously 2023 Copa Libertadores champions, are here once again in Group C. Let's see who's next for Group D. Que se viene Boca Juniors is going into Group D. 6-time Copa Libertadores champions. Can we go for number 7? We need somewhat of an easy group, I think, if we want to dream about that. I don't think our survival in the group stage is guaranteed. Peñarol, the other team from Uruguay, 5-time Copa Libertadores champion, absolutely massive club, is going into Group E. So let's see. The 2 Ecuadorian teams are still left, Palmeiras as well. And that is going to be Palmeiras Overdao going into Group F. And I think that is going to be F in the chat for whoever lands in that group with them. Which means the 2 Ecuadorian clubs are left for Group G and H. Who is it going to be? Is it going to be Liga de Quito or Independiente del Valle? That is going to be Liga de Quito. Liga Universitaria de Quito goes into Group G. 2008 Copa Libertadores champions, while Independiente del Valle, 2016 Copa Libertadores finalist and 2-time Copa Sudamericana champions, and the biggest talent factory in the continent, will go into Group H. And those are all of the pot ones. Now for the real draw. Now for the real draw to begin. The pot 2s. Lock in, chat. Group F it is, yeah. But like I said, I think it's going to be F in the chat for whoever lands in that group from the other pots, not for Palmeiras itself. So let's see. Flamengo's opponent in Group A, unless it's a Brazilian team, is gonna be Estudiantes de La Plata. Oh my goodness. Once again, a rematch of that quarterfinal tie. 4-time Copa Libertadores champions, both of them. Estudiantes de La Plata goes in Group A with Palmeiras, with Flamengo, I mean. Hello, Mr. Krabs. Thank you so much for joining once again. Flamengo Estudiantes is crazy. Oh, Universitario, I wanted that. That's what I wanted. Universitario from Peru is going to go into Group B with Nacional, and I think this is shaping up to be the group of life over here. Right here, Universitario and Nacional, I think is shaping up to be the group of life. But yeah, Flamengo and Estudiantes will be insane as a rematch. Cruzeiro, no, that's us! Because it cannot go into Group C with Fluminense, so Cruzeiro jumps over to Group D with Boca Juniors. I mean, considering that we're likely going to play a Brazilian team, considering that Cruzeiro is currently dead last in the Brasileirao, maybe it's not that bad. Maybe it's not that bad. But we already have our Brazilian team, and a big one at that. But, you know, they're not in the best shape right now. At least we avoided Corinthians, who were just drawn right now, and it's going to go into Group E with Peñarol. So there we go. Cruzeiro, man. Cruzeiro won 2 Copa Libertadores trophies. Corinthians have won 1 in 2012. No, I think Boca owns Cruzeiro actually, but Corinthians owns Boca, which is kind of annoying. Holy shit, wait, Palmeiras actually got Bolivar again? Oops, that's not what I wanted to move. Hold on. There we go. Ah no, Bolivar has to go with Fluminense because they had gotten skipped twice. So Bolivar goes to Group C. And Cerro Porteño. Oh my god, Chris, you said you didn't want this. And that is going to be F in the chat for Cerro Porteño, who have to travel to the Allianz Parque in Sao Paulo once again. Oh, goody, goody, goody. Wait, where does Lingard play? Is Jesse Lingard at Corinthians with Depay? Or what? Anyway, Lanús and Libertad left. For a group with an Ecuadorian team, Lanús is going to play Liga de Quito. That is a great matchup. Great matchup. And that means that Libertad is going to play Independiente del Valle. I believe Group H is another group of life. Group B is the group of life, but I think that Group H is shaping up to be another group of life. Group G is a battle between the last 2 winners of the Copa Sudamericana, so that's very interesting. I didn't know that Lingard was playing for Corinthians. That's crazy. Yeah, both Depay and Lingard is insane. Euro Corinthians. I actually had no idea that Lingard was playing there. That's so funny. And they have to play Peñarol. Honestly, that's a banger matchup too. Alright, pot 3. Flamengo, Estudiantes, and Cusco from the Emperor's New Groove. The team that I believe is going to get battered in this one. Well, let's see. Maybe they can surprise something. Maybe they turn into a llama and they do some shenanigans. Lingard was playing in Korea. My God, how I'm like so out of touch with Lingard. Coquimbo United is gonna go into the group of life. I really wanted to play United. The champions of the Chilean League, the Pirates, YAR, is going into this group of life with Nacional and Universitario. I mean, honestly, it's an exciting group because I feel like it's a group where anybody can win. So Fluminense, Bolívar, and Deportivo La Guaira, Poseidon's team. I mean, what an easy group for Fluminense. My goodness. And I hope we get Universidad Católica now, because otherwise I think we have a tough group. What's it gonna be this for Boca? Universidad Católica. Okay, it's saved. We get the Chilean team. It's honestly saved. It's honestly fine. It's honestly not bad. Okay, chat. It could be a lot worse. It could be a lot worse, I think. Group C is like so easy for Fluminense with the Bolivian and the Venezuelan team. Independiente Santa Fe is gonna go into Group E with Peñarol and Corinthians. That is a great group. Already, great group. Very interesting. Let's see. Palmeiras, Cerro Porteño, there are no restrictions with the teams that are left. So who is it gonna be? Junior de Barranquilla from Colombia is gonna join Palmeiras and Cerro Porteño, and this means that this is already decided because Rosario Central from Argentina cannot go in the same group as Lanús, so Rosario Central will go into Group H with Independiente del Valle and Libertad, while Always Ready from Bolivia goes into Group G with Liga de Quito and Lanús. Okay, so, I mean, Lanús, that is very uncomfortable, actually. Lanús has to play in the altitude twice, once in Ecuador and once in Bolivia. That is actually very uncomfortable for Lanús. Not easy whatsoever. And I think that it's a good draw for Liga de Quito as well. Yeah, Fluminense is super easy. AD, thank you so much for joining. Glad that you're here. Group H is definitely interesting. I think that Independiente del Valle against Rosario Central is going to be an amazing matchup. Di Maria against the youngsters. Libertad is a team that can give a good fight to anybody. Yeah, I also like having the group stage in the Libertadores still. Albert, thank you so much for joining. Yeah, everyone is lucky, especially Boca. Boca is the luckiest to not have Alianza Lima in this tournament. All right, Pot 4. The last few teams to be drawn. Group A is looking like a battle between Flamengo and Estudiantes. Cusco, like the team that is going to get battered. Very important here, Barcelona, Deportes Tolima, Sporting Cristal, and Independiente Medellín can go into any group because they come from the playoffs. For the other ones, same rules apply, no teams from the same country. I believe this is a team from the playoffs. Independiente Medellín, there was no restriction anyway because there was no Colombian team in this group. But Independiente Medellín is going with Flamengo, Estudiantes, and Cusco. That is a tough draw for Independiente Medellín. But I think that they can give a fight to Estudiantes for that second spot, potentially. Group B, which is so far the group of life. Let's see if we get a spicy one there. Deportes Tolima, the other Colombian team. This is definitely the group of life. Like Nacional Universitario, Coquimbo Unido, and Deportes Tolima is so the group of life. You have no Brazilians, no Argentinians. You guarantee two teams from other countries in the playoffs, in the knockouts. And I think it's a group that anybody can top, anybody can come second, anybody can come last. It's very interesting, honestly. Group of life. Independiente Rivadavia from Mendoza going to Group C with Fluminense and Bolivar. Okay, listen. Fluminense, massive favorites in this group. Massive favorites. But that is actually a great draw for Independiente Rivadavia. Obviously, you have to play Bolivar in the altitude. That is uncomfortable. But after that, Deportivo La Guaira is a free win in Venezuela. I think that is a good draw for Independiente Rivadavia. Okay, this is Boca. Hold up. Platense cannot be in Boca's group because it's an Argentinian team. So Platense is going to go directly into Group E with Peñarol, Corinthians, and Independiente Santa Fe. Oof, what a group for Platense to make their Copa Libertadores debut against some of the biggest clubs in the continent, biggest clubs in their nations, both in Uruguay, in Brazil, and in Colombia. That is crazy. Okay, what is this? No, dude, we play against Barcelona. No, man. No, this is a tough draw for Boca. Cruzeiro U Católica Barcelona. Luckily, it's not Hansi Flick's Barcelona. It's from Ecuador, but that is still super tough. Oh my gosh, Boca have a tough draw. It's a tough draw for Boca. Aye, boys. I was so expecting Universidad Central. Sporting Cristal is gonna lose against Palmeiras for the gazillionth time. Like, I swear this matchup always happens, and like Sporting Cristal always concedes like 5 at least. Yeah, I would expect you to be happy with that draw. It's capped and they will go out of this group. Group D, group of death. I think we have kind of a group of death. Elias, thank you so much for joining. Mirasol is gonna go into group G. That spices up the group a lot, actually, having a Brazilian team. So now you have double altitude, Lanús Argentinian team, and Mirasol Brazilian team. Group G is a sleeper group, and Universidad Central from Venezuela is gonna go into group H, where I think they will collect 0 points. And that is the group stage draw. That's it. Okay, Chad, let's talk about this. Not even Platense have played and it is already out. At least it's consistent, yeah. Mirasol low profile, about to meet altitude 2 times. That's crazy. It is. That's crazy because you have the Argentinian team, the Brazilian team, both of them which are not very big, and they both going to the altitude. Rank groups 1 through 8. Okay, what is my least favorite group? I think it's group H, man. I mean, group H has kind of nothing going for it. It's gonna be. I mean, there is not a single bad group. I think group C is the worst group, actually. I think group C is the worst group. Fluminense should cakewalk that group. Bolivar and La Guaira don't really stand a chance. Independiente Rivadavia could make things interesting. Independiente Rivadavia spices up that group a lot, actually, but I still think that they are underdogs. I think that Fluminense should walk that group, and after that it's a battle between Bolivar and Independiente Rivadavia for second place. La Guaira's gonna do nothing. There are a lot of altitude merchants in CONMEBOL, yeah. That is true. A lot of teams don't meet the capacity or the infrastructure to actually play their home matches at their own stadium. I don't know if Platense... I think Platense will be able to play their home matches at home, but I don't know. Yeah, Fluminense should get like 13 to 16 easily. But away to Bolivar and away to Independiente Rivadavia should be tough, but I think that Group C is the worst group. After that, Group A, besides the battle between Estudiantes and Flamengo, I think that it's going to be pretty boring. Independiente Medellin could complicate Estudiantes. Besides that, I think that it's pretty similar to Group C, where Flamengo is probably going to cakewalk that group. Estudiantes is the favorite to go through in second, and Independiente Medellin can play spoiler. Cusco, I don't expect it's going to do much. Group F, same thing. Palmeiras is going to cakewalk that group. Junior, Sporting Cristal, and Cerro Porteño are going to kill each other for second place, which is why I rank it above the other two. But besides that battle for second place, there is nothing going on in Group F. Group H is decent. Universidad Central is going to do nothing. It's going to get 0 points. But besides that, I think that the battle between Independiente del Valle, Libertad, and Rosario Central is going to be great. Group E is very interesting. I think that Platense is the clear underdog. But being an Argentinian team, I think that cannot be underestimated. Independiente Santa Fe has a lot to prove. And Peñarol and Corinthians, two teams with massive pedigree. I think that it's a very entertaining group. After that, Group G is pretty fun. Liga de Quito is straight up a good team that plays in the altitude, always ready, plays in massive altitude. Lanús is a great team, but with a low budget. Mirasol, another one of the underdogs. I think that this is another group of life, but super entertaining as well. I think that actually Group G ranks higher than Group B, because Group B is like very entertaining, but because the quality of the teams is not very good. Group G is entertaining because all teams are very equal level, but actually very competitive. So I think that Group B ranks lower than Group G, and yeah, I think that that only leaves that the best group is Group D. I think that Boca against Cruzeiro is super interesting. I know that Cruzeiro are down bad right now, but a Brazilian team can never be underestimated. Boca, super inconsistent, incredibly inconsistent. Barcelona looked very good in the playoffs, so I think that they will be very tough to beat. And listen, U Católica, I think they are the underdogs in this team, in this group, but they are a half decent team from Chile, so I think Boca's group is very, very tough. Yeah, Flamengo against Students of Silver. We have a rematch from the quarterfinals. It's going to be great. 90 minutes in La Bombonera is a long time. It is, but it's a long time for the Boca fans, not for the other teams, at least nowadays. Mirasol's performance really depends on whether they play the home games. I can see that. Yeah, I think I agree with that. It's a tough group for Boca. Like, I'm not really that happy. Liverpool versus Boca. Which Liverpool? We don't have the Uruguayan Liverpool this time around. I'm very happy with this. I mean, I think that the group stage, the groups are fairly balanced, and a lot of them are very entertaining, but I think that Boca's group is tough. I think our group is tough. I think we should still be able to advance from this group, but none of the games are guaranteed wins, and with Boca that is very dangerous with how inconsistent we are. I mean, I think that we have to make the quarterfinals at least, AD. I think that anything below the quarterfinals is a massive disappointment. And I think that when you look at the playing field, we should be aspiring for more, because besides Flamengo and Palmeiras, I don't think the other teams look that scary. Besides Flamengo and Palmeiras, I don't think the other teams are that scary. But like, just how inconsistent Boca is, and the fact that we don't even have a proper coach, really, really worries me. That really, really worries me. If we get a proper coach and we get some signings in June, I can see us doing something. But even progressing from this group is not guaranteed. I don't think advancing from this group is guaranteed. I imagine a Benedetto goal in La Bombonera and my world is falling apart. You're right. You're right. Benedetto plays in Barcelona. There's no way. There's no shot. There's no way he actually plays that game. I mean, Albert, I'm going to correct you. Cavani is still listed as a Boca player. That doesn't mean that he's playing. You feel me? Yeah, third place teams drop to the Sudamericana, to the playoffs, to play against second place teams in the Sudamericana. It's like the old format that the Champions League had with the Europa League. Yeah, Cavani should just retire, man. Just, you know that phrase, leave the football before the football leaves you? The football has left him like 2 or 3 years ago and he's still going, man. He really needs to let it go. The Argentinian teams in general, I mean, Boca was the only one in pot 1 and we still got a tough group. The Argentinian teams, I think that Rosario Central in Group H got the best draw. Estudiantes, you know, they have to play Flamengo, but after that, I don't think they can complain about playing Cusco and Independiente Medellin. Platense got a tough group. Lanús got a tough group, and Independiente Rivadavia got a tough group. Boca got a tough group. The Argentinian teams got kind of shafted. Like, Mr. Krabs, in terms of history, in terms of pedigree, I agree with you. Boca should be in the semifinals of this competition. There's no River, there's no Racing, there's no Independiente, there's no Gremio, there's no Sao Paulo. Like, looking at the playing field, from there's no Olimpia, there's no Atlético Nacional, there's no like some of those big names from South America are not there. And you have some minnows playing the competition as well, like Platense, like Universidad Central, like Independiente Rivadavia, like Deportivo La Guaira, like Cusco, like Coquimbo Unido. Like, there are some real minnows playing this Copa Libertadores. Flamengo Boca final is my prediction. I would love that. I would absolutely love that. But like, man. I think it's a really tough draw for Boca. And with how inconsistent we are, it's no guarantee that we will make it through. But if we make it through, I really expect us to get some good players in June. Dybala, crossing my fingers again. Do you think an Argentinian club will finally win the Copa Libertadores this year? No. No, I don't think so. Rosario Central has a decent chance. Lanús has a decent chance, but it's a bit of a long shot. Boca has a decent chance. Estudiantes has a decent chance. Although their budget is kind of screwed, so I think that Estudiantes is going to get shafted in the playoffs. In the knockouts, I mean. Platense and Independiente Rivadavia, no shot. I think it would be a miracle if they make the knockouts. I don't think an Argentinian team is going to win it. Boca and Rosario Central have the biggest chance. Lanús as well. Estudiantes maybe. I expect all four to make the knockouts, but I don't think it's going to be to win it. Devilman, thank you so much for joining. Very unlikely Boca will get the semis, let alone the finals, because of how dominant the Brazilian teams have been this decade. Exactly. The thing is that I think that Boca can even falter to non-Brazilian teams. I think that Barcelona is a team that can beat us in this same group stage. And like some of the non-Brazilian teams, Peñarol, Liga de Quito, Libertad, Independiente del Valle, Junior, like Bolívar even. Some of these clubs are legit teams, even if they're not from Brazil. And I think they can also be a massive threat to Boca's chances. And also in the playoffs, we can play Argentinian teams too. And in that regard, like Lanús would be scary, Estudiantes would be scary. Estudiantes can have our number recently. Rosario Central would be scary. So like, it's very unlikely that Boca get to the semis, not only because of the Brazilian teams, but because all of the other teams as well, because Boca is just kind of very unreliable right now. Oh boy. I would like for a team outside of Brazil and Argentina to make the final for once. It would be exciting. Who's the team not from Brazil and Argentina that's going to make it the farthest? I think Liga de Quito is the most likely. Liga de Quito is kind of like the obvious choice. They're in pot 1. They have a more or less favorable draw. I think they could be the one. Maybe Peñarol. Maybe Independiente del Valle. I don't trust them one bit, man. But if they get their act together, they could be so good. I think Liga de Quito is the most likely option to make the final or make it the furthest out of the teams that are not from Argentina or Brazil. Save me, Chiqui Tapia. Stay tuned for the next video. I'll be talking a lot about Chiqui in the next video. I've already recorded it. I'm in the process of editing it. So stay tuned for the next video. Anyway, guys, I think that I'm gonna be going now. I've streamed for over an hour and a half. There was a lot of yapping. We finally got through with the draw. And I think that for neutral fans, it's an amazing draw. I think that all of these groups are exciting and have something to them that is unique. Boca's group is like very, very difficult, but I think I'll always be expecting us to do something. Obviously, I'll try to make watch-alongs every time I can. I'll try to, obviously, starting in April, well, when the matches start, you're gonna have my predictions and recaps of every single match day, as always. So stay tuned for that. And yeah, I kind of gave all my thoughts on the groups. So yeah, thank you all guys so much for joining. Stay tuned for my next video. Stay tuned for the recaps of the Copa Libertadores in April. Hope you guys have enjoyed. Remember to like and subscribe. Leave your comments down below. Thank you so much to everyone who joined. Chris, AD, Mr. Krabs, Albert, Devilman, Elias, everybody. Thank you all so much for joining Titanes even. Thank you everyone for watching. I'll be seeing you all next time. Peace out.